Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Why is discipline so hard? If you've ever set a goal, whether it's waking up early, sticking to a diet, or finally writing that book, you know the struggle. You start strong, full of motivation, but then life happens. Distractions creep in, willpower fades, and before you know it, you're back to square one. Why does discipline feel like pushing a boulder uphill while everything in the world seems designed to pull you back down? The truth is, discipline isn't just about willpower. It's about systems. We blame ourselves when we fail, thinking if only I were stronger, more committed. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the real issue is that you've been fighting against your brain's natural wiring? Our minds crave comfort, shortcuts, and instant rewards. Discipline goes against all of that. It's delayed gratification in a world that screams, "Have it now." Think about it. Discipline isn't hard because you're weak. It's hard because you're human. Every day you're bombarded with temptations designed to hijack your focus. Social media, junk food, endless entertainment, they're all engineered to exploit your impulses. Meanwhile, discipline requires you to resist, to choose long-term success over short-term pleasure. That's not a fair fight. But here's the good news. Discipline can be mastered, not by sheer force, but by strategy. The key isn't to fight your nature, it's to work with it. Today, we'll uncover why discipline feels so difficult, and more importantly, how to fix it. By the end of this, you'll have a battle plan to make discipline not just easier, but automatic. Let's start with a hard truth. Discipline feels impossible because we've been lied to about how it works. We've been told it's all about willpower, that if we just grit our teeth harder, resist temptation longer, and push through the pain, we'll succeed. But that's a myth. Willpower is like a muscle. It fatigues. Relying on it alone is like trying to hold your breath forever. Eventually, you'll gasp for air. The real secret? Discipline isn't about raw effort. It's about smart systems. Think about it. Nobody wakes up and decides to brush their teeth through sheer willpower. It's automatic because the system is in place, toothpaste by the sink, a habit ingrained since childhood. The less you rely on willpower, the more sustainable discipline becomes. Now let's talk about your brain, because it's working against you. Not out of malice, but biology. Our brains evolved in a world of scarcity, where immediate rewards like eating sugary fruit or avoiding danger kept us alive. Delayed gratification wasn't just hard, it was dangerous. Fast forward to today, and that same wiring backfires. Why? Because we live in a world of abundance engineered to exploit our cravings. Your brain doesn't care about your 6-month fitness goal when there's a donut in front of you. It screams, "Eat it now," because biologically that's the winning move. Discipline, on the other hand, requires you to override millions of years of programming. That's not a fair fight. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. And then there's the environment, the silent saboteur. Modern life isn't just distracting, it's weaponized against your focus. Every ping on your phone, every flashy ad, every quick break that turns into an hour-long scroll, it's all designed to hijack your attention. Companies spend billions to make their products irresistible, to keep you hooked. Meanwhile, the things that require discipline, working out, reading, deep work, don't come with the same dopamine hits. They're quiet, slow, and unrewarding in the moment. So when you blame yourself for lacking discipline, ask, am I failing? Or is the system rigged? The answer is both. You're trying to climb a mountain while someone keeps adding weight to your backpack. Here's the good news. Once you understand these forces, you can outsmart them. You don't beat biology by fighting it, you hack it. You don't conquer a toxic environment by resisting it, you redesign it. The problem isn't you, it's the game you've been playing. And the moment you realize that, you can start playing by different rules. Discipline isn't about being stronger than your impulses, it's about being smarter than them. It's about creating conditions where the right choice is the easy choice. Because when you remove the need for heroic willpower, when you align your environment with your goals, and when you work with your brain instead of against it, that's when discipline stops feeling impossible and starts feeling inevitable. Discipline fails, not because people are lazy or weak, but because they're trying to navigate a complex challenge without the right tools. Imagine trying to build a house without blueprints. You might have the materials and the will to work, but without a clear plan, progress will be haphazard and frustrating. That's exactly what happens when we rely on motivation alone instead of creating systems. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather, but systems are the architecture that keeps you moving forward even when you don't feel like it. A system isn't just a schedule or a to-do list. It's a set of intentional, repeatable actions designed to make success inevitable. When you wake up knowing exactly what your first productive move will be, when your workspace is arranged to minimize distractions, when your habits are so ingrained that they run on autopilot, that's the power of structure. Without it, discipline becomes a daily battle of decision-making, and that's a battle most people lose before they even begin. Even with the best systems in place, emotions can derail discipline in an instant. Stress, boredom, and exhaustion aren't just passing moods, they're self-control killers. When you're tired, your brain seeks the fastest source of comfort, not the most meaningful. When you're stressed, willpower drains away like water from a cracked glass, and boredom, it's the silent saboteur that makes distractions irresistible. The problem isn't that people lack discipline, it's that they don't account for these emotional landmines. Think about it. Nobody craves junk food when they're well-rested and fulfilled. It's when they're drained after a long day that the drive-thru beckons. Discipline isn't about being immune to these feelings, it's about anticipating them and having a plan. It's recognizing that fatigue will come, stress is inevitable, and boredom is part of life, and building safeguards so those moments don't become derailments. Perhaps the most destructive myth of all is the idea that discipline is an all-or-nothing game. One missed workout, one indulgent meal, one unproductive day, and suddenly the entire effort feels like a failure. This perfectionist mindset turns small stumbles into full-blown collapses. It's like dropping your phone and deciding, well, it's cracked now, might as well smash it completely. Real discipline isn't about flawless execution, it's about resilience. Progress isn't a straight line, it's a series of steps forward, occasional slips and constant comebacks. The difference between those who succeed and those who quit isn't that some never fail, it's that some refuse to let failure define them. They understand that discipline is a practice, not a performance. One bad day doesn't erase weeks of progress unless you let it. The key isn't to avoid mistakes, but to recover from them quickly, to acknowledge the slip, learn from it, and get back on track without self-flagellation. Because discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about being persistent. When you examine why discipline fails, the pattern is clear. It's not a personal failing, but a series of overlooked pitfalls. Without systems, effort is scattered. Without emotional awareness, resolve is fragile. Without self-compassion, setbacks become catastrophes. The solution isn't to try harder, it's to work smarter, build structures that make discipline automatic, anticipate the emotional traps, and treat mistakes as feedback, not failure. That's how discipline stops being an exhausting struggle and starts becoming a sustainable way of life. The secret to effortless discipline isn't found in some mystical reserve of willpower. It's in deliberately designing your world so that discipline becomes the path of least resistance. Think about how grocery stores place candy at checkout lines. Knowing your tired brain will grab it impulsively. Now flip that strategy. Arrange your surroundings so that good choices happen almost by default. Want to eat healthier? Stock your fridge with pre-cut veggies at eye level and hide the junk food. Need to focus? Put your phone in another room and set up a dedicated workspace. Environmental design works because it bypasses the need for constant decision-making. When temptation is out of sight and good habits are frictionless, you're not fighting your impulses anymore. You're letting your surroundings work for you. This is why Olympic athletes train in specialized facilities and writers seek out quiet cabins. They know discipline flourishes when the environment eliminates distractions before willpower ever needs to get involved. The biggest hurdle to any disciplined action is often just getting started, which is where the genius of the 2-minute rule comes in. The principle is simple. Make your initial commitment so laughably small that resistance becomes irrelevant. Want to become a runner? Start by just putting on your workout clothes. Need to write a book? Begin with one sentence. This isn't about tricking yourself, it's about overcoming the mental barrier of initiation. Once you're in motion, continuing becomes exponentially easier. It's Newton's first law applied to habit formation. A body in motion tends to stay in motion, and the 2-minute rule gets that initial inertia working in your favor. The magic happens when these micro starts accumulate over time, building not just habits, but momentum and confidence in your ability to follow through. There's a fundamental difference between forcing yourself to be disciplined and seeing yourself as a disciplined person, and this identity shift changes everything. Goals are about outcomes. I want to lose 20 pounds, but identity is about belief. I'm someone who takes care of my health. When your actions align with your self-image, discipline stops feeling like deprivation and starts feeling like authenticity. Every time you choose the disciplined option, you're not just moving toward a goal, you're reinforcing a powerful self-concept. This is why the most disciplined people don't feel like they're constantly resisting temptation. They've internalized behaviors until those choices simply feel like what people like me do. The path to lasting discipline isn't through white-knuckled determination, but through gradually becoming the type of person for whom disciplined choices feel natural and right. What gets measured gets managed, and what gets rewarded gets repeated. This is the engine that makes discipline sustainable over time. Tracking progress transforms abstract discipline into visible results. Whether it's marking an X on a calendar for each day you follow through, or keeping a journal of small wins. These tangible records serve a dual purpose. They create accountability to your future self, and they provide concrete evidence that your efforts are adding up. But tracking alone isn't enough. Building in rewards bridges the gap between short-term effort and long-term payoff. When you celebrate small milestones, you're not being indulgent. You're strategically reinforcing the neural pathways that make disciplined behavior more likely to recur. The most effective rewards are immediate, personal, and tied directly to the behavior, creating positive associations that gradually make discipline its own reward. Together, tracking and rewards transform discipline from a grind into a game, one where every small victory moves you closer to becoming your best self. The most transformative realization about discipline is that what feels like constraint is actually liberation in disguise. We resist discipline because we associate it with deprivation, with saying no to what we want now for some vague future benefit. But flip that perspective, and you'll see that discipline is the ultimate form of self-empowerment. Every time you choose to wake up early, to focus when others are distracted, to invest in your health and growth, you're not limiting your freedom, you're expanding it. The undisciplined person is a slave to their impulses, constantly reacting to whatever craving or distraction appears. The disciplined person has the freedom that comes from control, the ability to direct their life with intention rather than being dragged along by circumstance. This is why the most successful people don't see discipline as a burden. They recognize it as the master key that unlocks doors others can't even see. When you reframe discipline not as something you have to do, but as something you get to do, a privilege rather than a punishment, the entire experience transforms from struggle to strength. Perfectionism is the enemy of progress, and nowhere is this more true than in building discipline. The all-or-nothing mindset sabotages more potential than laziness ever could because it turns minor stumbles into excuses for complete abandonment. The truth is that discipline isn't about never failing, it's about how quickly you recover when you do. Every lapse contains valuable information if you're willing to examine it without judgment. Did you skip your workout because you were genuinely exhausted? Or because you hadn't prepared your gym bag the night before? Did you binge on junk food because you were hungry or because you hadn't stocked healthy alternatives? These aren't moral failures, they're data points. The people who maintain discipline long-term aren't those who never slip up. They're those who treat every slip as feedback rather than fate. They understand that the path to consistent discipline is paved with occasional setbacks and that the only true failure is stopping altogether. When you embrace imperfection as part of the process, you remove the paralyzing fear of mistakes that keeps most people from even starting. The most powerful force in building discipline isn't heroic effort. It's the quiet, relentless power of consistency. We overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can accomplish in a year of small daily actions. This is the compound effect in action. Just as pennies invested daily grow into fortunes over time, tiny acts of discipline accumulate into transformative results. The magic happens not in any single workout or writing session or early morning, but in the string of them stretching across months and years. This realization changes everything. Suddenly, you're not discouraged by slow progress today because you understand how these efforts multiply over time. The disciplined person isn't someone with superhuman willpower. They're simply someone who shows up consistently, trusting the process even when immediate results aren't visible. This long-term perspective is what makes discipline sustainable. When you stop chasing overnight transformations and start investing in daily increments of progress, you tap into the most reliable success formula there is. Small choices, repeated consistently over time, don't just add up, they multiply, creating results that appear miraculous to outsiders, but were inevitable to the person who understood the power of showing up day after day after day. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about being persistent. Every time you choose action over excuses, you're not just building habits, you're building character. The struggle you feel today is the strength you'll rely on tomorrow. Remember, you are not alone in this fight. Every great achiever, athletes, artists, CEOs, faces the same battle. The difference? They've learned to make discipline their ally, not their enemy. And you can too. So starting today, stop fighting against your nature and start working with it. Build systems, not just willpower. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Because discipline isn't the enemy of joy, it's the foundation of a life lived on your terms. Now go out there and make it happen.